So, we analyzed the different parts of the stair, which I said were the run and landing. Now, in order to be able to edit more and also make a geometric change in our design, we need to be familiar with parts of run. Alright, because the run itself has some parts and we want to know them now. Alright, now, the different parts of run. It includes 3 lines. The first line is called boundary, and I want you to leave these icons alone for now. I will tell you about them later. Only understand the subject. Now, these green lines are called boundary. Then we have riser, which is these black lines. And then we have the stair path, which is the blue line in the middle. Each of these, my friends, have 2 points to say. Now, if you have a book, you can find it there. Or if you don't, it's okay, I tell you right now. You can take a note and keep it for yourself. Boundary has 2 points. The first point. Boundary is always 2 lines that are open and separated from each other. It's never 3 or even 1, always 2. And these 2 will never reach each other either. Alright? Somehow we can say that boundary is where the railings will be placed, but somehow not definitely. The second point. It is not correct to pass on the boundary line. I mean, you never enter the stairs from here, you always come from here, right? And even you never hit the boundary lines, you just go through them. And it actually makes sense because there are railings and, well, you walk between the railings. We will need these points later, so be careful with them, alright? Now, 2 points for risers or the black lines. The first point, the 2 heads of these lines must be connected to the boundaries or even reach them. Even if we continue it, it can reach the boundaries. It's okay not to be connected, but if we can continue it, it will reach the boundaries. Now, the second point, these lines must not cross each other at all. You see, just like the picture, they have to be on their own place, just like you can see, they shouldn't change and cross each other. Now, 2 points for the stair path. The first point, the stair path must be connected to the first and the last riser, and also must cross all the rises. I'll repeat it, it must be connected to the first and the last risers, and must cross all the risers. Alright, just like you can see, but I will explain it to you more later. Number 2, the stair path is designed automatically. You don't need to do anything. But in case it is not drawn correctly, we need to design manually. Alright, we need to design it ourselves. Well, now we know everything about the parts of the run. About landing, let me tell you that it has parts. Well, let's just say part, it has only a boundary. Alright, just a boundary. You see, it's this green line, the boundary. But the points about this boundary is not related to the boundary of the run at all. But if I want to tell you a point, the boundary here is always a closed shape. And it cannot be 2, always 1. Alright, now let's go and see the design of all these. We have stairs here, and I want to start editing it, so I select it first. Before the cut sign, or double click or the edit stairs, and then I select it. Pay attention, when you select your run, you see some arrows. When you select your landing, you will see some arrows. I already told you that until you don't make a main change in your design, run and landing are connected to each other. And if you make a change, they will be balanced automatically. But now that we want to have access to the parts of the run, we need to exit the automatic mode. And then do what? That's right, convert to sketch based. Or let's just say convert it to the manual mode. When you want to have access to the parts and ingredients of run or landing, you need to convert them to the sketch based. And then they won't be automatic anymore. So I click on convert here, and then a message shows up that explains that we are converting the automatic landing or a run to the sketch based. And well, if you activate this, it will not show up anymore. Well, now can you say what happened? Exactly, the arrows disappeared. So when we convert the run or landing to the sketch based so that we can have access to the ingredients or the parts, these arrows disappear, and when this happens we can find out that it's not automatic anymore. So I selected, and here the edit sketch is activated for us now. For this one it's inactivated, so I select that one. The edit sketch is activated and I click on it. Now what can we do? Well, let's start with the simple ones. For example, I can drag this boundary here, and I said that they don't need to reach this. If we continue it and then they can reach it, it's okay. Then finish. Now what happened? The landing balanced itself with the run. Why? Because our landing hasn't been converted to the sketch based yet. It's still automatic, so when it is not converted, it balances itself with the run, just like this. So let's continue. I select it and then click on edit sketch. And now I want to design an arc here. Make this arc. If you delete your boundary line, you have to draw the same material instead of it. I mean the boundary. The same material. So click on boundary and then select arc. And after that, design it. This is a graphical problem, don't pay attention to it. And I should be also careful that when I draw this, when the risers continue, they can reach the boundary. And then I click on finish. Now, does the landing still balance itself? Yes, because it's still automatic. So remember, when you delete a line and you want to draw it again, it needs to be the same material. Now I want to delete this riser and have an arc. Just like this. I delete it and then draw it again with the same material. And there won't be any problem. I can do many other things like this. Finish. Or I can even make this riser look like this. And even this one. And finish. Alright. Also remember that our edits don't always remain so nice. Actually, from now we start facing some errors. Now, for example, one of the things that we can do is that we delete this boundary, and instead of it, for example, I want to draw an arc. So I click on the arc from boundary, then I design the arc and click on finish. Pay attention. A message shows up. But what does it say? It says that the stairs run and landing cannot be joined. Now, what times does this happen? When the geometry you have designed for your run does not fit the landing. My friends, listen to this sentence I'm going to say right now very well. Revit shows us the unjoined messages in different forms. For example, during the layers of walls and floors, we saw this message. While attaching, we saw this message and many other places. The only unjoin that you need to pay attention to is the unjoin that appears after designing the geometry of the run. Now, how do I find out this is it? When you click on unjoin, you go to 3D and you see this is upside down. So when you receive this unjoin message, definitely click on unjoin. Then go and check it, and if you see your run is upside down, be sure that you cannot ignore it, and the only solution is undo. Alright. If I click on undo, it will be alright. Now you say, why? How did this happen? Well, because I designed an arc instead of this. And then I clicked on unjoin, and when I went to 3D, I saw that it's upside down. And it's actually so dangerous, so I get disappointed. So what would I do? I delete it first. Then I select the boundary and draw this one instead. I say that I'm sorry, I draw it back again, the same way. But would it be alright? No. There is only one way, and that's to undo. You see, you must click on undo until it gets correct. Now a point. While you're editing your stair, every level, each level, you need to click on that check to make sure things you have done so far have been accepted by Revit or not. Actually, this is very good for you because you can understand where you have made a mistake. If you do it immediately after each other, you can understand that, yeah, it has been a couple of levels back that I have made a mistake. You need to understand where the mistake is. By the way, if you do this, let me do something here. 1, 2, 3. Let me delete this one. 4. Now I'm actually working and I forgot to click on that check. Until now, the things I have done have not given me any warnings, but I must have clicked on that check. Now I do the dangerous thing. I edit this one here and then I click on the check. Now, what disaster can you say it is? When I click on unjoin and then I find out that this is upside down, I should undo, shouldn't I? But until where? Until the part that was correct. So all things I have done until now will go away, and it's like I haven't done them because I didn't click on the check. Right? So even if you have made 20 changes in your design and then the error turns up, you will have to do it all again because you have to undo. So every 2 or 3 changes that you make, it's really good to click on that check. Now someone comes and says that I want the exact form of that stair. So what is the solution? Well, I can teach you a trick so that you can use it in these times. Now what is it? Well, look and pay attention. Well, when you edit this boundary, Revit only cares about the place of connection only here. So if you want to draw that arc, if you keep a piece of this connection, right? You saw I clicked on that unjoin? I told you that unjoin messages of Revit are not important at all. Alright, so if you keep a piece of that here so that the connection is still there, and then you draw that arc, you can do it. Alright, this is a trick. You keep a piece of it there and then draw the arc. If you do this, you will not face any error. And then you might say, so what about this piece here? Well, it's a trick. It's not a solution. Keep that short as much as you can. And in 3D, there is an extra part like this. You can delete it. Actually, I myself have done this a lot when there's no solution. Well, you just have to do it and nothing bad happens. And this is the trick. Well, when I edit my stair here, for example, I change the direction of this line a little and then trim these two. When I click on finish, what error does it show us? Invalid stair path. That's right. Because this line has not reached that line under it. Alright, I told you it must be connected to the first and the last riser. So I select it and then correct it and finish. Alright, now we nearly checked the errors of stair. Now I want to draw some stairs with mistakes and problems, and it's your duty to find those mistakes and problems and then inform me. And actually in this part I have a lot to explain to you. So let me delete this and draw another one. 212 would be good. Alright, now I want to edit this. Pay attention. So I select this and then I convert it. The message shows up. Then I select it again and then click on edit sketch. Then I change the direction of it, this boundary a little. And from now on, be careful because I'm going to make some mistakes and you need to be able to recognize them. In order not to face an error here, I make this a bit short and then select a boundary and draw it in this way, for example. Now the stairs might look a bit weird, but I just don't care. Then I delete this and draw another risers instead. And I change this one too. And I delete this one too and change it. Just like this. Well, that would be enough. And now I'm going to click on finish. Before you tell me the mistakes of these stairs, I need to explain something to you. Now I click on finish here. Alright, finish. That's it. And then a warning, an error shows up that says invalid sketch. Now pay attention. Guys, the invalid sketch error is related to risers and boundaries. I mean that it's telling us, it's informing us that the boundaries and the risers have issue. It hasn't controlled the stair path yet. As long as there is problem with the boundaries and the risers, it doesn't go to the next level. So let's correct the boundaries and the risers for now. We do this first based on the previous points and then we go for the stair path. So I click on continue and you need to tell me the problems one by one. And you actually need to say it doesn't matter, I cannot hear it. You need to say. That's right. The first thing that seems so wrong is this boundary in the middle. It's conflicting both points that I said about the boundaries. The first point for the boundaries, there must be two lines. There are three now. So we can't have a boundary here. The second point, we cannot pass the boundary. Now if we climb the stairs, we will pass the boundary in the middle. So this is wrong. It must be what? That's right, it must be a riser. Now, is it possible to change this to a riser? No. But there is something you can do, and that's to draw on it. Oh, I'm drawing with boundary. I select the riser first. and draw it. Now, how should I delete the boundary? Filter, you need to select it first. Filter, activate the boundary, and delete it. Alright, so let's click on finish. Oh, invalid sketch. Still wrong. So I check. What else? That's right, you can see it here. If we continue this riser, it will cross the other riser, right? This one. So I delete it and draw a kind of different arc. Now when I continue the other risers, they don't hit this riser. So now let's click on finish. Well, still invalid sketch. What else? That's right, we have a problem here. I said when the riser continues, it must reach the boundaries, but it doesn't. So what should we do? Well, either we can continue this boundary, or we can also draw an arc instead of that riser. Yeah, just like this. We draw an arc. We can also do something else. Let me delete this and show you. I can also trim these too. It's another way. You see, I kind of bring it down, bring the boundary down so that it can reach it, but I want to draw an arc, just. Alright. Now, finish. This time, it really seems to be okay. Well, that's what we're going to discuss. There is a point about the boundaries that we usually don't pay attention to. And that thing usually causes the damage to us and the stir, because the big things that happen to the stir we can see, especially when we are a little experienced, we can notice those big mistakes. But what we usually miss, well, I don't know if any of you have found it, well, you're really smart, but what we usually miss is this. The boundary here goes out a little. This is what we couldn't find. Or even sometimes a little piece of boundary stays out like this and it cannot be seen at all. Well, who can find these things? Well, I teach you the techniques. The techniques for the times that you have a small piece somewhere and you can't see it. Like here, or imagine we have overlap. Like this. Now, how should we find these? Actually, there's a very cool technique that I will show you. Well, the first thing you do is to hold your mouse on one of these boundaries and then tap. Now, because my computer highlight is gone, I have to close it and open it again so that it can work. Let me see if I can make it this way. No, unfortunately, let me just close it and open it again. And after that, we will continue our discussion about how we should solve these small lines and also the overlaps. Well, the first thing you do is this. You hold your mouse on one part of these boundaries, it becomes highlighted, and then you tap. You see, tap once and click. Sometimes it shows itself. Alright, when you do this, you see some spots and you see, okay, what are these spots? Usually the empty ones are not important, but when I zoom in this one, you see, and then I trim these two. Again, tap and then click. You see here that the color is kind of different. Here's green, the rest of them are blue. I can open a box here and find it, and this tab is really good. So one way is to tap and find some of them, but what else? Well, the small one is still there, right? When I finish, the warning comes. You can also do something else, and that's to count the boundaries that are clear. 1, 2, 3, 4. After that, you open a box and you go to filter. You see that there are 6 boundaries. So 2 more left. After that, you select the boundaries that you can see and delete them. Then open the box again, filter, and those 2 boundaries will show themselves. Now you can find them one by one. Alright. Even if you couldn't find that little one, you can delete the other one and then open a box. Filter, boundary, and then it will show itself. After you found them, you undo because now you know where they are. So you go where they are and delete them. So by using filter, you find out how many they are, and then when you delete them, you find out where they are. Alright, finish. Now, what does it say? Invalid stair path. Well, can you say what it means when we get this message, invalid stair path? That's right, it means that our boundaries and risers are okay now. The only problem now is the stair path, and it's so easy to fix. It's clear, for example, this hasn't reached here. I just drag it or even use the extend and then finish. Remember something, let me tell you before clicking on finish. Now, remember, after solving all the errors and all the mistakes, now, does the geometry that you have designed fit the landing? After all that, you might face that unjoin, that dangerous message now. Well, it might be like that. Technically, your boundaries, your risers, everything is okay, but the form you have created does not fit the landing. And I told you the trick, and it's up to you actually to change the form or do the trick. When you click on finish, if you face that dangerous unjoined message, I mean, if your ramp gets upside down, well, there is no choice. You have to undo and then change the form. But if any other unjoined messages appears, well, you can fix it, let it be. It's alright, it can be fixed. So let's click on finish to see what message we face. And if it's unjoined, don't worry, don't be scared, just click on unjoin. We have to undo only in case it gets upside down. If it doesn't, it can be fixed and solved. And yes, no unjoined messages and everything is alright. So let's go. Now another question. Pay attention really well. I want to do another edit. Alright, now. When did this become like this? Don't remember. They cross each other and ruin the form of the stair, I told you they shouldn't cross each other. You see what a disaster it is? We don't always face an error when the risers cross each other. It just makes a mess. Well, now it's alright. Well, next question. Let me click on edit stairs. Pay attention because it's really important. So, at first I click on edit and then delete this. And draw another form. Let me do it with riser in this way. Remember something, when you have several straight lines connected to each other as a riser, we count as one. Like the boundary, when they're connected to each other, they're one. So I deleted that and drew another one instead. What else? I select the riser and draw it here. Here. And finish. What error do you think we will face? Well, the riser I drew here might seem so weird to you. And you might say, it's definitely this one. The error will appear because of this. But no, this is completely correct. Because two heads of it are connected to the boundaries and it has not crossed any other risers. So let's click on finish. You see, no error for the boundaries or the risers. So the form is okay. It's only the stair path. We need to continue the stair path so that it reaches the last riser. Then finish, and now we face the unjoined message. Now, can you say what this is? We agreed not to be scared of the unjoined, didn't we? So, click on unjoin. If it gets upside down, well, we have to undo. But if it doesn't, we can fix it. So, I click on unjoin, and then I go to 3D, and I see it's not upside down. So, it can be fixed. Now, can you say where the problem is? Let me go to sketch. Can you tell? Let me show you in 3D. There is a conflict here. Why do I see that when I'm in 3D? Exactly, because while I was adding this extra riser, I did not delete any riser instead. The truth is that we have added a riser to the first ramp. So the problem is that we didn't delete any riser and then we added one. And it shows itself in the 3D. Alright. So adding a riser can also lead to error. The connection with the landing is now gone. But we can fix this. How? How can you fix it? Well, we delete this one instead. And when I click on finish, not only will we face the unjoined message, but also it will be fixed. So it's possible to fix the stair and the risers when we click on unjoin and it doesn't get upside down. It actually happens a lot. You're in the middle of editing and something goes wrong, but you can fix it. One of the common mistakes is that, for example, someone deletes this and then he wants to offset. So he selects the offset and enters, for example, 30 centimeters. And when he offsets, there will be 2 there without he understands. And then when he clicks on finish, this message will show up. So when we go to 3D, we see there's a conflict. And when you go back and, I don't know, count the lines, you see everything is alright. Well, it's a bit difficult to find this, but when you open a box, if you see down there, it shows 2. This one, it shows 1. This one, 2. It's a common error that appears when you have 2 risers on each other. You can also see it in 3D. You see, just like this. So, be careful. It's so common, it happens a lot, that you have 2 risers on each other. Remember that. And that's it. And actually don't care about these a lot. When the form of your stair becomes a bit weird, it's kind of normal, you know? You can later delete this structure yourself and design another one instead. You can use a wall and a lot more. Let me tell you another point, the last point actually. Sometimes you design a landing artificially. For example, I delete this one and this one, and then I select the riser and draw something here. and another one here. It's kind of a landing I created. Let me get these two down a bit. I kind of create a landing. So let me click on finish and that's it. Would you agree if I say that when the structure reaches the place that I created the artificial landing, it breaks? So what is the solution? When you create a wide thread and it becomes a landing, you need to split the boundaries in sketch mode so that the structure and the railings can balance. Let me continue this to understand where I should split from. Now I can split from exactly that line. I can split from before that or even after that. You will have different effects. I do it from the line. So you see the structure now. Let me click on finish and yeah. And the railing also matches itself with this form. Alright. Now I want you to do something, and that's to draw 15 kinds of different stairs, but start from the simple ones. For example, at first edit the boundary and the risers a little, then go for those errors that what should we do if we create a weird form? If there is an extra riser, what should we do if the unjoined message comes? And all that. So practice this part very well because this part was really important.